We welcome to the bunker our director of scouting, Craig Smith. How you doing, Smitty?
Not bad.
Guess I got an idea who you think's going to win the World Series, judging by your headwear.
I do. I think the Astros will do it, but man, I'll tell you, it's going to be great. The pitching matchups are just going to be so cool to see. You know, Astros seem to just come through with clutch hitting, but, they got those two guys that can win four games. But so do the Nationals. They got two guys that can certainly win 4 games as well. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Well, you are proving to be a real sportsman, which we knew, but I'll tell you why. You're a dyed-in-the-wool Yankees fan.
Big time.
Right. And here you are cheering for the team that beat them out.
Yeah.
So that means you're a sportsman, because most fans, right, Marshall, would be too ticked and you'd want that team to lose.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Kimmel had something on last night, and they were saying, hey, what do you say to the Houston Astros? You should have seen the comments. It was unbelievable. The typical New York. I don't know if you've ever gone to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. But, and you know what? We had a place down in Texas, and Houston was the closest place. So we kind of started cheering, for the Texans. And, I know some people with the Texans, so them and then the Astros. And all of a sudden, when we were kind of rooting for the Astros, they were horrible. I mean, they were just so bad. And then all of a sudden, bang, they just, started to get good and won 2 years ago, beat the Yankees 2 years ago and knocked them out. And now they're back. So I'm fired up.
Well, it makes sense that you'd be a fan, and I like what Greg Zahn said. For game 1, at least, a very low-scoring game, 6:07 tonight, first pitch. So there's a lot of topics in the air today on this Tuesday morning coffee get-together, and those are the World Series matchup, Cody Fajardo's contract extension, and, of course, the poll question, who's the West Division most outstanding player in the CFL, and we haven't even got to Heritage Classic yet, and we will. But I brought Smitty in early for a good football chat with Marshall Hamilton and Craig Smith here. And Marshall, you jump in anytime. But I want to get your thoughts, Craig, on the extension of Cody Fajardo. You just seem over the moon with this from a rider perspective.
Well, I'm so happy for the riders because, how many shows ago did we say they got to sign him? And they did. Gio did an unbelievable job to lock him up for a couple of years. Now, my thoughts are they're Grey Cup contenders for the next 3 years. Riders, obviously, I think most of them are doing cartwheels, but they sure should be because this is an amazing signing. They've got a heck of a football team. And, when I was with the Riders, we went into Calgary twice. And we beat them to go to the Grey Cup. So, anything can happen. And this team is good enough to go to the Grey Cup.
The other thing I'll add is, and I didn't say this earlier, but I like the timing of this, not just because we got it done, but we got it done before the meaningful games really start to happen. These next 2 games for Saskatchewan are really meaningful if they plan to finish and want to finish in first place, which I'm sure they do. But it's also before they start getting into the playoff games. And, even though a player says, and I'm sure Cody's saying, it wouldn't have been on my mind, bull. It is on your mind, that contract extension. And every play that you make that's a good one, you're thinking contract extension. Every play that you make that's a bad one, every interception you throw, you're thinking, this has an impact on my contract extension. Now he doesn't have to think about that. All he can focus on is good preparation for the game, good preparation and good planning during the game, good execution, and being a good leader and teammate that he is. So I love the fact that they got this done now as opposed to in the offseason.
Just reading the Facebook comments as we chat this morning. Greg Gillespie writes in and he says, highlight of my day is watching your show. Great news yesterday, rider-wise, not so much nation-wise. We're not touching politics anymore. We did in the warm-up and moving on. This is supposed to be a happy show. Wayne out in BC says, is there a monetary prize included when you win the most outstanding player of the CFL? Well, I'm sure there is from the league. There's definitely... That's built into contracts, right, Smitty? I don't know how many contracts you've seen, but Marshall's nodding his head. Yes, there's a bonus from the team. Yeah,
I was a defensive back, and I had it in my contract. The chances of me winning the MOP were like 0.000, but it was in the contract. So I'm sure every player, especially every starting quarterback in the Canadian Football League, will have something like that in their contract. I think there is some money from the league, too. I don't think it's just contract.
Well, there's a trophy, and there probably is something from the league, too.
Yeah,
but go ahead, Smitty.
I'm not sure about that, but with regards to the league.
Yep, I want to move on, too, on this Fajardo thing, because, those guys in Lloydminster that had me on the radio today, they're pretty smart guys. They ask good questions, and they said, what's changed? What worked with Cody Fajardo? You said, Craig, nobody saw this coming. You're right. We've had Travis Lulay on this show, and who did we have from the Argos? Well, Jim Pop at the time, we've had a few Argos guys that had Cody there. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody. I think it was Ricky Foley or maybe Chad Owens. Guys that have all played, but nobody saw it coming.
But
so what changed?
That's the way it is, though. It's like Ricky Ray's tape went all over the place. Edmonton took him. Edmonton got him there because you looked at his tape, and I looked at it and I thought, geez, he's not bad. But I never said this guy's a Hall of Famer. There's no way I said that. But Cody, same thing. Saw him in the New Orleans Bowl. He was on the necklace already. I would have put him on, but I'm no genius. I mean, he's just the game that he played that day, big deal, and what a surprise. I mean, just the way this all rolled out, with regards to 3 plays. Everybody's worrying about Zach and 3 plays in, boom, it's gone. Well, now Fajardo. So he finishes the game. Then the next game, he has an unbelievable game against Ottawa where he's throwing the football like as good as you can get, and then it just keeps on going. I mean, it's such an exciting story. It's such a great thing for the CFL.
I mean, here are my thoughts. And I've never been a scout like Craig, but I spent a career doing human resources, and in human resources, you're interviewing a lot of people for different positions in leadership, et cetera. Somebody can have a really, and I'm using some metaphors that can go to both sport and the world of business, but you can have a really good resume, but I still want to see the whites of your eyes. I still want to meet you. I want to find out what makes you tick. I want to talk about what excites you, what really gets you going, what your work ethic's all about, what your leadership style is, what you aspire to in life. I want to learn all those things about you, and I can only learn that by meeting you and getting to know you. I can't do that by watching your tape, your game films. I mean, I can learn lots from your game film, absolutely. But there's lots of people that have great game tapes, but when you meet them, you kind of go, "Geez, there's just not much. There's not much pilot. There's no pilot light in that furnace," and so whoever, and I'm assuming Jeremy O'Day and Craig Dickinson, et cetera, had a chance to meet with Cody Fajardo as part of the free agent signing process and went, I like that guy. And he's got good game tape. He hasn't proven anything yet in the Canadian Football League because he's been behind Travis Lulay and he's been behind
Ricky
Ray. But I like this guy. Let's give him a chance. Give him a chance. And now this thing's starting to shine.
And you could see that, meeting Cody Fajardo, the guy is just unbelievable. What a great, just a fantastic role model for everybody. He looks like he's, a guy that you want to hang around with. I mean, it's just a great thing. The game film obviously is a starting point. You take a look at the game film and say, man, I like this guy. But he comes in and he's a jerk. You don't want him. So it's, Cody's personality, probably his intelligence, that all showed, and they made a decision to get that guy, and boy, what a decision.
I'm so grateful for the time I was able to spend with Cody to get to know him. And now when people say, and I hear it a lot because I'm all over this province, this guy as wholesome as he looks. I'm like, probably more so. Yeah. Probably more so, believe it or not. So yeah, he is a good fit. Now moving on, producer Clark proving why he's the best producer in the game. He says, Bob Irving, voice of the Bombers, tweeting that, as expected, Zach Collaros is not practicing with the Bombers today. Now, they've got Calgary in there on Friday night, and I might have to, I am going to just defer to you guys because there's something I'm not getting here.
Not practicing?
Not practicing.
Not practicing as the start?
It says not practicing with the Bombers.
At all.
That's what it says here. Wow. Oh. Clark, you're having a tough day. Oh, it's Bob. It's not Clark. Streveler's not practicing.
Oh, okay.
It's not Clark. It's Bob Irving. Can we just rewind? Hit that button. Take you back 30 seconds. Yeah. Okay. Now things are starting to make a little more sense.
This makes more sense, yes.
Well, the CFL website this morning, CFL.ca, says, will Zach Collaros start for the Bombers? And obviously they're talking about this week. And I'm thinking, if you couldn't play him 3 days ago at McMahon, why would you play him Friday night at IG Field? But now we know.
Yep.
Streveler's out. Okay, guys, so here we go. And Smitty, you're Bomber alum. Maybe you can handle this first. I'd be pretty worried if I was them because you're going into the playoffs with way, way, way more questions than you have answers.
Yeah, even if Streveler was healthy, that I've been, a backer of Streveler and obviously seen some good things. But Boy, he sure has disappointed me. I thought he was going to do a heck of a lot better. And, so even if Streveler was healthy going into that, I mean, they still got a chance. They played him pretty good last week. They could have won that game. They're going back. It's tough to play at IG Field. But now, who knows what the heck's going to happen? I mean, Streveler certainly added stuff, right, with regards to him being able to run. But now, who knows? It's going to be just like who knows? It's crazy stuff in Winnipeg right now.
I'm actually surprised that he's lasted this long. Yeah. And I don't mean in terms of tenure with the team, but in terms of physically, the beating that guy took in every game that he started. And when I say took, it's part of it is gave, because he didn't shy away from contact. He initiated a lot of contact. So, probably half of the hits that he took, he didn't want to hit or didn't want to take, and the other half he initiated. So the combination of all those hits has taken its toll, and I'm surprised he actually came back into the game at halftime, and certainly later on. I mean, at halftime it was the hand, and in the third quarter, I think it was, or maybe it was the fourth, it was the ankle. Yeah. The way he was hobbling with that ankle, I thought there's no way he's going to be finishing this game. He did, but I know what those ankles feel like the next day and the day after. He's probably on crutches right now. Yeah. And I don't mean with a cast. No. Even if it's just a sprained ankle, he's probably having trouble putting any weight on that. Yeah. So I'm not surprised he's not practicing today.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. I just can't see there's any way that they're going to beat the Calgary Stampeders on Friday night. And they couldn't beat him with Matt Nichols. And they couldn't beat him with Streveler. They're damn sure not going to beat him with Zach Collaros. So we're looking at Winnipeg probably coming here or Calgary for the Western semifinal. I mean, the Riders, I'm not going to get into Rider math here because it gives me a headache, but I think the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are finishing third. End of story. Mm-hmm. And I like the Bombers. I've said all year that I would like them to win the Grey Cup and end the drought because I like the guys that are running the place in Kyle Walters and O'Shea and LaPolice and Richie Hall. But I'm telling you, the team is not as good as we were told they were, because if you lose your quarterback and your season goes up in smoke, which it has, they've lost 4 of their last 5 of 8 without Matt Nichols. You're not as good as you're telling everybody that you are. Simple. And look at the Hamilton Tiger Cats, look at the Montreal Alouettes, look at the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I'm sorry. And I was told some really nasty things by Bomber fans over the last 24 hours when I said on yesterday's show that Winnipeg should not be in the discussion as the top 4 teams in the CFL right now. They didn't like it. Well, I'm sorry. You lose 4 or 5, you are not one of the hottest teams in the CFL right now. You're just not. And I saw the power rankings come out today from the CFL, and they got Winnipeg in 4th. Good for you. Good for you, because that doesn't mean anything right now anyways. It's who's going to be left standing at the end of the year, but it's not going to be Winnipeg.
You think about the 2 games where they were up 20 and 24. If they finish those off, look where they'd be in the standings right now. Like it's so incredible. Like,
and that's a defensive problem.
And one of them was against Toronto. I mean, oh wow.
And in Montreal, you would think you would have learned these lessons. It's not all on the quarterback.
No.
And even some of the guys that you didn't think would start to unravel, like Mike O'Shea, who I'm a Mike O'Shea fan, or at least I have been for a long time. He's starting to unravel as a head coach. He's starting to make decisions that are questionable. And Lapo, some of the decisions that he's made, and maybe even some of Richie Hall's decisions. Now, Richie's going through a tough time having lost a brother, but some of the strengths of that team, including Andrew Harris, who I haven't mentioned yet, started to unravel this year. And a team that just looks so dominant. I picked them as my number 1 favorite at the beginning of the season, and they've just continued to fall from about week 5 or 6 on away as they start to unravel. And it's starting to look like there's a curse. They haven't won a Grey Cup since, 1990, I think it is. It's the longest running team, or drought for a team in the Canadian Football League. It's starting to look like a curse right now.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.